Welcome to the NFL Saturday Podcast. This is Amp.
And I'm Scotty.
And we're here to catch you up on fantasy football for the week. And we'll
have some fun along the way.
Ooh,
that was good.
Okay, cool. That might be it. We'll see.
It felt like you were the perfect amount behind me.
Okay, it felt like that too.
All right, let's do it.
Today we're talking about our fantasy MVP picks. This is going to be a fun episode, but before we get into it, are you ready for your fun fact of the day, Scotty?
Am I ready for the fun fact of the day? You know what? Yeah, give it to me. I'm ready.
All right. The worst teams to ever make the playoffs were the 2010 Seahawks and the 2020 Washington football team. The Seahawks,
6-9.
obviously, they were 7-9. Yeah, both teams were 7-9. Sorry, did not clarify that yet. But the Seahawks won their first playoff game against New Orleans, and it was the infamous Beastquake, where they registered an earthquake on the Richter scale a couple miles away from the stadium. So it's infamously called the Beastquake. And then Washington football team lost to Tampa Bay in the first round, where Taylor Heineke was starting in that game. I don't know if you remember that, but that was before he played this year. Yeah, it was actually pretty close. I think they lost by 8 points. But yeah, it's pretty close. There was another team that did get close, though. Yeah, what do you remember?
Oh, I was going to say that Seattle, when they were 7-9, they won the division. So when they played against New Orleans, who I believe was probably like 10-6 or somewhere in that range, Seattle had a home game, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it was the same with Washington.
That's crazy.
I think in most cases it would almost have to be a division win, because like if you think about it, like the wild card with a losing position. You're not getting a wild card. Yeah. But there was another team that got really close in 2014, and that was Carolina, who made the playoffs at 7-8-1. They actually got a tie.
Nice.
They also did win the first round of the playoffs, but then lost, so it didn't really matter. Yeah, fun fact though, because we do have Tampa Bay leading their division at 6-7. So who knows? Maybe they could break that record.
I did project that they will go 8-9.
That would be a very good prediction, because mine was a little far off, and I won't say what it is.
I meant I'm predicting that now. My previous projection. That now?
Okay.
Yeah, because I looked at their schedule. Let's go look. Just for fun, let's go look at our NFL record predictions.
Oh, don't do that.
Oh, Jesus. You have the Buccaneers at 15-2, and I was right behind you at 14-3. Holy moly, were we wrong? We were double what actually happened.
I will say, though, I think we were pretty close with the Lions, right? You
and I were. I believe Troy.
You and me were. He had like 2 wins for the Lions.
you said 6-11, and I was boldly giving them 8-9. So we're gonna like probably split the difference. Is definitely.
He
said they were 2-15.
They're 6-7 though. I think the Lions could. They can definitely make the playoffs. I think. Still, especially if they win this week.
I'm rooting for that. That would be exciting.
Yeah. I'm excited for that too. But anyway, I guess we can get into the episode. So first, do you want to talk about our betting challenge? Because I don't think really much changed.
Nothing exciting has happened. I think we're still both just kind of floating around similar numbers. Yeah,
you're still up 50K, but we both lost like 30K. So
yeah, we're both on like a huge. Why is it so hard to win? It's crazy.
I know. I will say though, I was very close to winning 140K because I made it a ridiculous bet that Pollard and Zeke would both get 2 touchdowns.
And you were so damn close.
Zeke got stuffed on the one twice in a row, I think. So yeah, it was very interesting. But
you were 2 feet away from 140K.
I know, that would have been crazy. That would have been a crazy swing.
Imagine if that was like a real life bet. Imagine if that was actual money.
I would have been so mad. It was a crazy weekend. We have some stuff to talk about. And one of those things is your
Mr. Unlimited
moment of the week.
All right, let's hear it.
So this one I actually changed last minute because I found a better story. The other one I had wasn't great. It was about Josh Allen in an interview, and it wasn't that great. It was about the reporter being a doofus. But this one is about an actual NFL player being, I wouldn't say a doofus, but being very Mr. Unlimited, or thinking he is very Mr. Unlimited. And that is Mike White. Mike White.
What did he do?
He went to 10 different doctors to try to get clearance to play.
I read about that.
Because the issue was he believed he was unlimited, and he found out quickly he was not. So
he thought he was Mr. Unlimited, and all 10 doctors were like, nope, you're limited.
Yep.
He went speed dating with doctors. He just went to he went to 10 different doctors. Jesus.
I mean, the craziest thing is he has been practicing in full too. And he just has, I don't know, he has guts of steel or nerves of steel. He is just, seems invincible. It's pretty crazy. After he took that insane hit last week, I thought he was going to be out for the game.
Yeah. He just came right back in like nothing.
That was legit like one of the hardest hits I've ever seen in the NFL.
For a quarterback,
that was
for
legal
sure.
too. Yeah, because like most of them are like helmet to helmet, but this was like helmet to ribs. Like it looked like he broke some ribs, and I don't know.
That's usually a penalty, right? You can't lead into the quarterback with the crown of your helmet or something.
Yeah, but I think it was legal. I think it was a shoulder or something, but it was like it was a legal hit, and it was the hardest legal hit I've ever seen in my life. It was insane.
Damn. And he still wants to keep playing. Good for him.
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, good on him. I understand why the team likes him, and I don't know. I'm a Mike White believer. I have him in my dynasty league because I needed a backup QB because it's 16-team league, and it's slim pickings. So
yeah, for sure, he's a good pick.
And Mike White. There we go.
100%. Great duo.
But on little more sad news.
Ooh.
It is story time because I had another tragedy. It has just been the year of tragedies for me. I promise when we continue this story time in future years, it will not be all sad stories. But this year has been probably my hardest fantasy year because I've had a lot of close defeats. And this was my best ball league. This was my last hope. I was in 4th place going into the week, and I was down by 44 points to the person in 2nd place. And this is a best ball tournament. So I need to get top 2, and then I move on, and I automatically make money. And this was $1 million tournament, by the way. It's I don't think I would have made it because my team is not, there's a couple positions that I lack in, which I will explain in a second, but it's $1 million tournament. And I was very close to making the money, 44 points away. Last week, my team is crushing it. Overall, whole team crushing it, running backs, wide receivers. Even, I have Russell Wilson. Even he did well. And obviously he got hurt, which sucked, but he still had his almost best game of the year. And I go into Sunday night. I have Mike Gesicki and James Conner, but he has Eckler and Hopkins. So, unfortunately, Gesicki is my only tight end at this point, which I'll talk about in a little. But he gets 0 points. So I have 0 points from my tight end position. And Eckler goes off. He gets a ton of points. So now I need a miracle on Monday. I'm down by 15 points in the overall. Mm-hmm. But because of how the best ball works, I need Connor to get 26 more points than DeAndre Hopkins. That sounds impossible. So you know what? I'll watch the game. If it starts going well, then I'll get invested. So I'm watching the game. And Connor is having a great game. At half, he has made up half of the points. I only need him to get 13 more points than Hopkins now because he is going off.
He was doing very well.
And then he disappears. He didn't do anything. So I end up losing by 16 points.
Oh.
And what really hurts is that I had Kyle Pitts, who has sucked all year. But after he went out for the year, I had him 3 weeks after he got injured for the season, I think. And Gesicki got 0 points in every week. So I had to look at Kyle Pitts in my starting lineup, even though he's on IR for the last 3 weeks of the season.
No way.
And for those 3 weeks, I got 0 points. And all I needed was 16. If he just had 2 games of 8 points, I would have moved on and have won money. I think it's $15.
Oh,
and
no.
It was like a $5 entry fee or something. So, and then, I mean, you never know. I could have made $1 million.
You could have made $1 million. That's insane.
Yeah, it was painful. I'll just say that. It was very painful.
That is 100% brutal, especially when he covered half the points at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard to watch. I was at work, so I was like, I wasn't able to watch, but I was keeping track of the updates, and yeah, it was painful. Do you have a story time for me, though, Scotty?
Oh, my story time this week is absolutely devastating. I got crushed.
Ooh.
You're not even ready for this.
Oh no.
All right. I finished the season on a 2-win streak. Unbelievable. Only 2. And then, to just add insult to injury, I finished second in the points for category. I only missed by 4 points. I was 4 points away from scoring the most points of any team, and I didn't get it. I'm heartbroken. No, I'm kidding. That is a true story, but I'm not actually upset about it. But that is a true story.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're not in 7th place, tied for 7th place, but you have the 4th most points in the league, and I'm out of the playoffs in my other league with the 4th most points, but I am in 7th place. So that's how it goes.
You could be my little brother, who had the least points for and the most points against, which is a recipe just to get crushed. I mean, you can't to have both. Like, that's insane. That's so unlucky.
Yeah, that's not a good year.
I mean, he typically finishes last. I don't think he really cares, but
yeah,
he could at least say, "Well, I had the most points scored against me, so I mean, I really shouldn't have done that poorly."
Hey, if he had your other brother's schedule, he might have been in the top 4. So,
I tilted my other brother so hard. He was so mad.
Trash talking him.
I had to.
Well,
he was like, "Oh, before I got injuries, I beat you by like 60 points. You only beat me because I had players who were hurt."
Before I get you too tilted by mentioning that again.
Right.
Let's move into the main topic, the playoff MVPs. And this is something I've been looking forward to. I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't right. It wasn't the right time. Thankfully, Scotty suggested not to do it that week because I agree. I think it was too early. We just talked about fantasy playoff matchups. Or no. What did we talk about? We talked about something. It was like,
I think, was that right after we talked about
players? I don't know.
I think we talked about strength of schedule.
Yeah, it was something like that. We talked about playoffs, I think. So I think it was fantasy playoff schedule. So
maybe.
Yeah, so I think you're right. And now we're going to be talking about players that we think will win you a fantasy championship. These players, if you play them, they have the chance to dominate. We are saying we think they will dominate. That's what we're saying. So I guess, What do you want to do? Do you want to go first or second? Well, I think we should alternate because we should have like around 12 picks. So do you want to alternate?
I think I would. Yeah, we can alternate. And if we agree, we'll just, like, if we both have them on the list, we'll just move on after we talk about it. I'll go first. We're just going to start with quarterbacks, correctly?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, quarterbacks.
All right. I'm gonna bring in a shocker, but it's not a shocker because they're on fire right now, and they're full head of steam racing for a playoff position. I think he's playing the best football I've ever seen him play.
Okay.
Give me Jared Goff.
Ooh. Okay.
Give me Jared Goff. The first
This
week,
is a hot
granted, first week of the playoffs, he's going against the Jets. Not a great matchup. But if you can survive that, then he's got Carolina and Chicago, which are slightly more favorable for the quarterback. His matchups are not fantastic, but I'm giving him the nod because of not only the hot streak that they're on, but the motivation of a potential playoff spot on the horizon to give them that extra fuel for the fire. I like Jared Goff. He's been playing very well the past couple weeks, and he only has a reason to keep going better. This week there's no Mike White, so that Jets game might get out of hand and he could put up some numbers. When I saw his name, I couldn't resist. I know you don't agree, but give me Jared Goff, man.
I don't mind. I think this is a good pick. I think for me, I considered him at one point, but I couldn't do it with the matchups. I was worried about the Jets game. I was. So that's the only reason I didn't pick him. But I mean, these QBs, none of them really have a great 3 weeks, I think. So
absolutely,
that's kind of how I'm feeling.
You have to make what do you call it? Unorthodox pick.
Yeah.
When nobody seems like a lock, you kind of gotta. You gotta rationalize
zig when
it
everyone
a
else is zagging, and that's what you're doing with Jared Goff.
I have to. I think the Jets matchup won't be as bad as we're anticipating because of the injuries that they're facing right now.
Maybe
it might not be the same Jets team that we've been watching the past month or so. So we'll see.
I don't mind it. I don't mind this pick at all, and I really am rooting for the Lions to finally make the playoffs. I think they really have a chance. Their schedule.
I do too.
If they win this game, I think. I don't know. Their next 2 games after this, I think they should win. I would be shocked.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood right now. All right, we both knocked on wood. Cool. Well, I guess we can move on to my
first pick. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I
was going to say we normally jinx a lot of people, but I don't want to jinx the Lions.
I know, exactly. That's what I don't. This is the one player I don't want to jinx, and the one team I don't want to jinx. So we'll move on right away to my first fantasy MVP, who I think most people may be surprised because no one's going to be surprised. I'm joking. This is Josh Allen. I'm picking Josh Allen. And
you can't be surprised at that.
The thing that people might be surprised about is his matchups are not good. Besides this week Miami is really good matchup, but it is in Buffalo, and they're probably not. I think they're going to blow out Miami this way. I think Miami's going to. I think they're going to crumble in Buffalo in the snow, traveling across the country. But I think Josh Allen will get a ton of rushing yards if it is cold, if it's snowing, if it's raining, whatever it's happening. I've heard multiple different reports, so I think that this game he'll get a ton of points. Then they play Chicago. Chicago has been doing a lot better on offense, so I think this could be a shootout. Then last week, week 17, this is not a good matchup for him technically, which is Cincinnati. But Joe Burrow is on fire right now, and I think that's going to end up being a surprise shootout. And that could legit be the game that wins you the championship if you have Josh Allen, because I think he is going to just go off, and he could get 40 points if there. This could be like him versus Mahomes in the the divisional round.
Where they both just went crazy.
Yeah,
okay.
That level.
I can see that. Thinking. No, that. I will correct you on one thing that you said though.
Oh, what did I say?
I'm nitpicking for sure. You said that Miami was traveling across the country.
I did
to get to Buffalo,
but they were because the last 2 weeks they've been on the West Coast. They were playing. They were played
put
in
my
San
shoe in my
Francisco,
mouth.
and then the next week they played in LA Chargers. So
Well, you just owned me. Edit that right out.
Nope, keeping it in.
You got me good.
Now, huh?
Like, oh, they're just driving up north. What is he talking about across the country?
And
Owned me.
they also reportedly had heaters on the bench in LA when it was 60 degrees. So
no shot.
Yeah.
What the? Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. So
what are they going to do in Buffalo when it's like 14 degrees? It's a night game. Do you know how cold it's going to be at 8 o'clock at night in Buffalo? In December, it's probably going to be in the 20s.
Exactly.
Oh my. They're going to have those hand warmer packets like stuffed in their socks and their arm sleeves and their shoulder. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen.
You know what? If they had heaters for 60 degrees, they are in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
There's not enough heaters in the world. All right, that's a great pick. You know what? I was hesitant, but that's a great pick. 100% agree. Go Josh Allen. He's in the MVP race. I think Jalen Hurts is going to get the MVP. Josh Allen will get snubbed once again. He's just not quite doing enough.
Do you think Patrick Mahomes is going to... Because I think there is argument to make that the Chiefs do not have as many weapons as the Eagles. And I think stat-wise, Hurts is probably putting up a better rush, or like with the rushing yards, probably putting up a better stat line and the touchdowns. But it's pretty close. Like they have the same amount of total touchdowns, and Mahomes has more total yards. But because like the rushing yards, I don't know if you count those as higher. I personally probably would, but I think it's very close. And I do think the Eagles have better like talent around him. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that Mahomes, as unfair as it may sound, because of what we know he is capable of, we sort of hold him to a different standard than the other quarterbacks, where I think like he needs to really, really wow you, because we've seen like the crazy stuff that he can do, and I think this year he's playing well, but not as well as we've seen him play in the past. So as unfair as that is, I do think that's a knock against him, where like Jalen Hurts currently is playing the best we've ever seen. The team's 12-1. I think it's unfair that they're on different scales, in my opinion, but I think Jalen Hurts would get the nod this year.
No, I actually
if
kind of
he can
agree with
finish
that.
and get the playoffs and win a game.
Yeah. This is like the LeBron James effect, where it's like he didn't get an MVP for like 10 years, even though he was like one of the top, if not the top people in the league. And it's just because like everyone's so used to him being so good.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
You just don't give it to him. So yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that's a big factor.
I do think that it's super unfair, because he is playing just as well, if not better, than the other guys. But like if his scale goes to 15, he's not hitting it. He's not doing that this year.
Yeah. And I think one thing that always gets lost is that like I'm as an Eagles fan, obviously I think Hurts probably should win it, but I'm biased. And I think all these guys in the top, like even the debate, I'm like picking at like hairs, like they're all doing so well. So it's not like any of them are really doing bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have, I think. But we should probably move on to your second fantasy playoff MVP, which may also be on my list. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. You may have accidentally given it away earlier. Who knows?
I am going to go with the man that we just talked about.
Oh.
His championship matchup, Mr. Mahomes. He's, in my opinion, and you can argue this with me all you want, I'm not going to back down, is that Mr. Patrick Mahomes is matchup proof. I don't care what the numbers say about who gives up this many points or who gives up this many yards against quarterbacks. Mr. Mahomes, he's doing it every week. We just talked about it. So he's going against Houston and Seattle in the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. In our league, we do weeks 15, 16, and 17. If you do it differently, well,
you should change your rules.
Right. So in championship week, they go against Denver, but he's proven he just got 30 points against Denver a couple weeks ago, or literally last week.
Yeah.
So with that, and it was in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So with him proving that he can put up above average numbers versus the only team on his list that I'm worried about, give me Mahomes. Start him all 3 weeks. Set it and forget it. He's putting up 30 plus points probably in all 3 games in championship week. Unless they rest him because they've already locked up like number 1 seed, but I don't think they'll have that locked up by week 17, even if they win out. So, you know what? Give him Mahomes. Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even think I need to go too in depth with that. Mr. Mahomes is the absolute beast. The future GOAT, as hard as it is to say, because I'm tired of seeing the same people win. But Mahomes is the guy you get the most confidence in my opinion.
No, I like it. I think this is a good pick. Yeah, I'm all on board. The Mahomes train. I guess. Choo-choo. I guess we can go on to my second pick. And this one hurts me to say out loud. But I think it is true that he's going to have a good fantasy playoff.
I know where we're going with this.
And that is Dak Prescott. I think he is going to have a good fantasy playoff. And he has some good matchups in week 15 and 17 against Jacksonville week 15 and then Tennessee, who is a great matchup.
You love that in week 17. 100% agree.
And that's the type of one you want to win your championship. Now, they do play the Eagles in week 16, but they play them at home. And I mean, I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about the matchup, but I think it should be a high-scoring game. And I think that typically means that they're going to get some touchdowns for Dak because they do seem to throw the ball in the red zone sometimes. So I think it's going to be high-scoring. I think he's going to get at least 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. And I don't know if they win the game. I think it's going to be close, but I think he's going to have a good fantasy day. So that's why I'm picking him, because I think he will be solid all 3 weeks, and especially those 2 good matchups. What do you think? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think that I considered Dak Prescott, and then I remembered what he did last week versus the Houston Texans, who we're sitting here saying is a good matchup.
No. They are...
They're middle of the pack.
They're the worst matchup in the league to quarterbacks. So
what? No.
Yep, 30-second. Look it up.
What? I just did. It said they're. What am I? What? No.
On Yahoo, at least it says. I mean, from my understanding, the reason why is because Houston's so bad against the run that they just don't give up any passing yards, which kind of happened. I mean, all the touchdowns were running touchdowns.
Oh. I was misreading it. I thought it was saying that they're the 15th. Okay. I see where how do I check the real number? Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. Okay, so if he still almost put up 300 yards and a touchdown versus what's supposed to be, okay, yeah, all right, I stand corrected. I don't know how I was misreading that, but I was misreading that. Okay.
Well, it's fine. It is okay. Understood.
Okay,
but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Then I take back everything I said. Give me Dak Prescott. Yeah, that's a good pick. Dang, how did I misread that?
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's not a big deal, you know. Some people have the good MVP picks, and some people don't, you know. So it's all.
No, you're right. Where it says week 5. It says like the red dot.
Yeah.
That means they're a bad matchup, and then it says week 15, and I thought that was saying I didn't see it. It said week. It like cuts off. So when it said 15, I thought that was like they were the 15th ranked defense.
That's really funny.
That's still my mistake. I should have looked more careful.
No worries.
I do like that pick though.
Do you have a third pick for me then that might possibly be better than my pick?
I have a third pick, but I'll just be honest that I accidentally was thinking of Jets quarterbacks and was thinking of Zach Wilson, and somehow, and I guess I was tired when I did this because it was last night at like 5 a.m. I accidentally wrote down Sam Darnold, which I'm absolutely not playing. In fact, I'm cutting him, even though he has good matchups.
Don't say that. I haven't been starting him in our league. Don't say that.
So I had to scramble for a third pick, and give me Mr. Super Bowl. Give me Tom Brady. His matchups are mediocre at best. He plays Cincinnati, who's one of the toughest teams against quarterbacks. Then he goes into Arizona, which is more favorable. And then he finishes the fantasy playoffs at home against Carolina, which he always finds a way to put up numbers and win. Now they're leading the division. He's going to want to pull out 3 amazing weeks to make sure that they don't give up the division to Carolina, who is the team that's chasing them. So I do think that he's going to lay an egg versus Cincinnati, so play someone else week 15. But then you could plug him in instantly versus Arizona and versus Carolina, and he'll play out of his mind to make sure that they get that playoff spot. Because if they lose any games, they're not getting a wild card spot. You have to win that division or you're not getting in because they currently have a losing record.
Yeah, and Carolina is in a position where if Carolina wins all their games, they make the playoffs over the Bucs. So,
and even at the end of his career, we saw it against New Orleans a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
you can never count out Tom Brady. With 4 minutes left, the statistics were saying that they had less than a 1% chance to win the game.
Yeah,
and still somehow after you see that number, no one ever had any doubt that Tom Brady is at least capable of pulling out the miracle. His defense hasn't let him down all year. He's pulling his weight. I think he can do just enough to make you excited about having him in your lineup.
Yeah, no, I don't mind it. I'm me as someone who, I mean, in our league, I would 100% play him because my team sucks with quarterbacks.
Yeah, we have 2 QBs as well.
Yeah, I am very worried. Like just about Tampa Bay overall. I think Godwin is the only person I'm confident playing, but literally everyone else I'm like sweating playing them. So I would try to avoid it, but I think you have some valid points, especially that 16 and 17 matchup. Those could be some spicy points right there. And who knows? I mean, maybe he does bounce back and have that good game. Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I mean, if you're an underdog, it's a risk worth taking in those weeks. So, yeah, fair pick.
That being said, I did put him third because if you had anybody else that we've talked about up until this point, literally everybody we've talked about to this point, I'm playing them before him.
Yeah. No, definitely. That goes with my third pick as well, though, actually, because
let's hear it.
I also I had Mike White here as well, and then I replaced him with Russell Wilson, who also just got labeled out. So I'm replacing Russell Wilson with Deshaun Watson. This is.
I considered that.
You did? Okay.
I did.
So this is a very spicy pick. I am sweating again playing him, but I think this is one of those picks where he could go completely off. I mean, Yahoo has him projected for 22 points, which I think is ridiculous. Don't agree with that.
I agree.
But I think he definitely has the chance to get 22 points because he is still coming back into the swing of things. Last week, he got 18 fantasy points.
Just the second week back, so that's a good sign.
But he had 276 passing yards, and he does not look great So he doesn't look great, but he runs a lot, and he has a good talent around him. So if he keeps building the connection with the receivers and gets back into the swing of things, I definitely think he does have a chance to just kind of go off, because we forget that people were comparing him to Mahomes before he got injured, and then the rest of the stuff that happened.
I was wondering how you were going to. I was wondering how you were going to deliver that. I was just like keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. But he was really good back then, and I don't think he will get back to that form this year. But he has that potential, and if you are an underdog trying to, if you're going up against Justin Fields maybe not Justin Fields because not great matchups, but
bad
you're going
matchups,
up against Jalen Hurts, I don't know, Josh Allen, and you need that person who could compete, who has that potential. He has that potential, and I don't think he's going to get low points, because I think that they're going to try to get him involved more to try to prove everyone wrong. Because Cleveland kind of, at this point, they need to be like, yeah, this guy is our guy, So they
got to show something.
Yeah, they need to show that next year he is the guy, and get the fans excited and stuff like that. So I think they're going to force throw the ball. So that's what I'm thinking. And it seems like you kind of agree with that.
I do. I think at least for week 15 with the division matchup against my Ravens, unfortunately, I think the Browns are going to absolutely destroy the Ravens tomorrow. I was thinking about it from all different angles. Even though we currently have a top defense, I don't think that there's any way we win that game. Deshaun Watson it'll be his third week back, progressively getting better each week so far. I think he puts on a show. I think that's the game where he goes into Baltimore, really makes a statement, and like you said, gets the fans excited. Like, okay, the first couple weeks he was still warming up, but this is the guy we have to look forward to for the next 5 years.
Yep.
Or however long. I completely agree. I think
that's a great call. And I'm sorry for you as a Baltimore fan, but the Ravens have looked really bad recently. So
terrible. Lamar's still out. Huntley might not even play. I mean, who the hell? I'm a Baltimore fan. I don't even know our third string quarterback. I forget
his name. I forget. They played Aaron, last week, and it was
like Aaron something.
Yeah, it was some name that I was like, that is like the most generic name ever.
Anthony Brown.
Yeah, Anthony Brown.
No, you're right.
Exactly. I was right. Okay.
I think he played for maybe like a quarter, and he was 3 for 5 for 16 yards, and he got sacked one time. And he had 3 carries for negative yards. So not a lot to be excited on Baltimore's side of the football. That is absolutely an opportunity for Deshaun Watson to just get in there and mix it up, man. Really show off.
And in the league, I have Mark Andrews. I am considering benching him too.
Absolutely. Who's throwing him the ball? I completely agree with that. How is he getting
later though? Because
he's not on your list.
No, but not him. But whoever I might be benching him for might be on my list.
Oh, Dalton Schultz.
No,
nailed it.
That's not it. It is not Dalton Schultz. But
all right, I believe you. All right, let's move on to running backs.
Woo, running backs. All right. Do you want me to go first in running backs, or do you want to go first? We could just keep you going first, or we could alternate positions. Who goes first?
You can go first because I went a little interesting at the running back position, I'll be honest.
Okay, cool. I definitely want to go first then, because my first pick, it's my overall MVP. This is who I think will be the top scoring. And I had it down between 2 players. And I had Derrick Henry written on it until Sunday. Because on Sunday, Deebo Samuel got hurt. And I switched it to Christian McCaffrey. And I understand this is a little
he already played
outside the box because he already played and he already did amazing. But
he got 28 points.
Yeah, and the thing is, he would have had more if the game was even close at all. Like
completely agree. Every time he touched the ball, he was getting 5 yards. He was catching it in space. He literally looked like he could score every time he touched the ball.
Yep. And one thing that as soon as Debo got hurt on Sunday, I was like, they're going to throw to McCaffrey like no tomorrow. And he had 8 targets in this game. He had 8 targets on Thursday. So I think he has the potential to break the scoring. He plays Washington next week, which isn't a good matchup. It's one of the worst matchups, but it doesn't matter because he's going to get a ton of catches, and it's
McCaffrey, 100%.
Yeah, it's McCaffrey. It does not matter, and
it doesn't matter.
And then they play Las Vegas in the finals, and I know San Francisco's defense is amazing, but if Las Vegas can keep up somewhat, that game will be insane for McCaffrey. So I think all 3 weeks for him are matchup proof, and I think he's going to catch a ton of passes and give you just an amazing performance every week. And that's the one difference I have between him and Henry. I think Henry will have 2 amazing weeks and then 1 week that will not be great. Are we going to talk about Henry with you, or should I talk about him now?
We will cover him later.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
All right.
So I guess you can talk about your first running back then.
All right.
Unless you want to talk more about McCaffrey, but that's up to you.
I am a very proud McCaffrey owner, as much as I love to talk about him and how I almost didn't draft him because he always gets hurt, and how happy I am now that he got traded. We can move on. I went a little out of the box because he's technically a running back, but I'm not picking him because of his running back prowess, of which he has very little. We're going with Jerick McKinnon.
Interesting. Okay.
I have not been thrilled, to say the least, with Pacheco. There were a couple weeks in there where it seemed like he was hitting his groove, and he looks like he could be the guy after Clyde Edwards-Helaire completely disappeared. I know he's hurt now, but before that he was falling off the radar.
Yeah.
And now with the lackluster Pacheco performances, Jerick McKinnon came in last week versus what we would consider a tough matchup against Denver, and he scored 35 points. He had 9 targets.
Yeah, he did.
I'm not sure if that's sustainable. I understand that's why this is an off the wall pick, but he's going up against Houston, who we already covered as terrible against running backs, and Seattle, who, although they did play well against the run, specifically against San Francisco, like they did do better. I mean, McCaffrey still got over 100 yards, but it wasn't convincing 100 yards. It took a while to get there. They still suck against the run.
Yeah.
So I think if Jerick McKinnon rides the little momentum that he picked up in week 14 into 15 and 16, maybe throw him into your flex and just be happy to see him sit there and collect maybe 20 points, which out of your flex position. Wow. What, you don't agree?
Maybe we'll talk about this in a second.
All right, you go.
Yeah,
I was impressed. He looked really good every time he touched the ball.
Look, I'm
not just looking at his numbers. I watched the game. He looked good.
He does, and he looks good. But
you're roasting me.
Against Denver, the game plan was to throw the ball, and I think the game plan against Denver is not going to be the same game plan against the first and second best running game matchups, because even last week when Jerick McKinnon got 30 points,
he had no rushing. I know.
Isaiah Pacheco had 13 rush attempts for 70 yards, and he had 12 fantasy points. Still, that was a bad week. And now they are going to be running the ball. And that's why I have Isaiah Pacheco as my fantasy MVP, because Houston is the second best matchup, and Seattle is the first best matchup against running backs. And
I agree.
I do agree that McKinnon will be playable. So don't get me wrong. I think that's a good pick. I think he'll, especially in the championship game when they play Denver again, that will probably be in the game plan. I don't think Pacheco will have a bad game that week. I think he'll still have a good game, especially if he does amazing against Houston and Seattle, which I think he will. I mean, he's even in the game where McKinnon was in the backfield the whole game, essentially. He still got 12 points, and now I think they're going to be running the ball because that's how Dallas beat them. That's how everyone's beat them all year. Houston, you can't throw against them really. You have to run. So, I mean, I think it's going to be an insane game for him both weeks. That's my hope. My hope is because it's great rushing matchups that they'll run the ball more rather than throw it. But I do see what you're saying. I think there are different tiers of players too, because I think if you have Isaiah Pacheco, you're probably starting him already. And I feel like McKinnon's more on your bench if you have him. So, and you might even be able to pick him up off waivers. So I do think McKinnon is a good flex play if you need that,
I will say that I considered Pacheco because the first thing we looked at when we considered who our MVP is going to be, and I know you did the same thing. You went straight to who has the best matchups.
Yeah, essentially.
As like a starting point, and then you sort of put him in the ranks from there. But even Pacheco against his good matchups, he's never gotten more than 18 points. I'm hard pressed to believe they are great matchups. They're the best two matchups, which he hasn't faced yet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just struggling. I do think he's a good player. Maybe there's too much talent on that team to just pick one player.
Maybe.
How many points would you need out of him to consider this a correct pick? If he got 18 points, would you be like yeah, I nailed it? Would you be happy with that?
I think it's going to have to be more than that. I think it would have to be 22 points both weeks. That's
you do
what
think
I'm
he's
expecting.
Capable of that?
Yeah, and because looking at his matchups, the way I see it is that he really wasn't getting all the touches until week 12. That's when he started getting a ton of touches.
Correct.
And that was a tough matchup. And since then he hasn't had a good matchup. And now that Clyde's out, I mean, I think we both agree that since Clyde's out, those two are the running backs in the backfield. And obviously
100%.
McKinnon's the passing back and Pacheco's the running back more. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of it as. But I mean, I think you definitely can play both of them. And I'm hoping Pacheco is getting over 20 points. I think that's my, and I'm expecting for a little more than just 20 also. I'm expecting for 22, even 25, but
okay.
That's what I'm hoping for, just because the matchups are so good and he has been very efficient on the ground. So
okay.
Yeah, if he can actually get into the end zone, break off a couple runs, then I'd be very happy.
Okay. And personally, I have no stock in either player, so I can just sit back and root for you, I suppose.
Awesome.
I don't see why not.
I do think Pacheco has a very safe floor, though. I mean, because it seems like even in a matchup where McKinnon is getting 30 points, he still gets 12. So I think he's a very safe play. And you're not going to be super bummed out because he's projected low, but I think you do have that upside, is how I see it at least.
Okay. I'm with you. So then somehow, even after my first pick was McKinnon, who I already got disagreed with. That was not proper English, but screw it. I'm gonna go with an even crazier pick because of all the injuries to the quarterback position in Baltimore. J.K. Dobbins.
No shot.
J.K. Dobbins just came back from injury, and put up 21 points versus a very tough. I'm not trolling you. I actually put J.K. Dobbins on my list.
The reason I'm laughing is because he's on my list too.
That's how you picked him.
Yes, I did.
Like, how did you pick? Okay.
Okay. Can I predict something? Because this would be even funnier if this was the case. Did you have Zonovan Knight on your list as well, and then change it?
I did not.
Okay. Because I had Zonovan Knight and changed it to J.K. Dobbins.
I did not have. I was my juggle. It was with McKinnon or not. I had a couple other players in the air, but then I landed on McKinnon. I mean, his matchups are Dobbins matchups. The only one you're like technically afraid of is Pittsburgh, but he just put up 21 points against Pittsburgh, so you sort of feel better about that. Same thing I discussed with Mahomes and Denver, where you're like, oh, Denver's a good matchup, and then he already put up like 30 points versus them.
Yeah. Do you want to know another stat too?
Yeah, give it to me.
That Atlanta, in the past 6 weeks, is like top 5, like good matchups. So
they had a good beginning of the season, but they're falling off.
Yeah, and you can run against them a lot. So
yeah, I mean, I already liked the pick, but that makes me like it even more, just because of because he's polarizing. Because some people hate him, but he's not. I don't know. You can't really be indifferent towards him. You either think he's good or not. Yeah. As a Ravens fan, I haven't been like thoroughly impressed, but so far this season, when he's been healthy, he's put up over 20 points both games. The 2 times that he's been healthy, so I think he's going to have a good day. Not enough to win the game for the Ravens, but enough to give you 18 to 25 points potentially if the script of the game goes the correct way. I think Cleveland will win, but it won't be a blowout, so they're going to continue running the ball. I don't think they have to change the game plan.
Yeah.
And we already covered why it's a good matchup versus Atlanta and Pittsburgh. How did you pick the same guy? You know, I put so much thought into picking somebody who I didn't think would hit your list. Are you kidding me?
This is like the one, like we disagreed on Kansas City, and now this is the one. This is the pick. Like, what I didn't too. I was like, there's no way he's picking Dobbins because you literally talked about Dobbins last week and not stashing him. And then this happened. That's so funny.
I think that was... I wonder what... I have to go back and listen. What was my reason?
I think it was because he was coming off the injury.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards. I will ask you too. That big run that he had, do you think he looked still injured? Because he didn't look 100%. And I don't know if it was just because he was tired. I think that's what he said. He said he was tired. But then he came in the next play and ran for a touchdown. So I don't know what to believe.
I think we're gonna have to trust him that he was tired. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense to put him on the list.
That's what I'm. Yeah. But I will say,
yeah, he's still hurt. He's gonna win you your league injured.
He was. I had Zonovan Knight there instead of him.
Okay.
Until Mike White, because I don't think he'll perform without Mike White as well. So that was my reasoning.
Right, because then all the focus is on him.
But I will say, if Mike White comes back, I think Zonovan Knight will be a great play.
Okay, so just put him in like your honorable mentions.
Yeah, and more just like if you have him, you can bench him this week probably, or I mean, if you can, and then play him possibly when Mike White comes back. But that's what I'm thinking at least.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, that's
then we'll just skip to my last
third
pick, right?
Yeah.
You almost gave this player as your first pick. He's going to at least get you to a championship game. Championship week, Dallas is a tough matchup, but Derrick Henry is going to put up Derrick Henry numbers versus the Chargers and the Texans, who we've already discussed in depth about how they're not good against the run. There's not a lot that needs to be said. It's Derrick freaking Henry versus bottom 5 run defenses. And Tannehill has looked
Yeah.
So you just got to feed the beast, man. I have all the confidence in the world in Derrick Henry.
You know how we talk about snow in Vermont as a joke?
Ooh, it's getting to be that time. It's getting to be that time of year.
There are snow safety warnings about storms in Vermont right now. So
do you actually look that up? You're so funny because you're never benching Henry, but it's just funny to have that little bit of reassurance.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
It's like the stupidest thing.
Derrick Henry has the gift of great matchups in your playoffs. You've loved him all year, but if you've made it this far and you snuck into the playoffs, you're over the moon. He's getting 20 plus.
And I will say, against Dallas in Week 17, you're playing him anyway, no matter what, because they're playing at home, and there's a chance that he still gets like 30 points. And
yeah,
I think he's going to get like 15. Which I don't think will be as good as McCaffrey, which is why I picked him. But it's like he's going to get you to the he will get most people to the finals.
And if he's the only person carrying your team, that being said, I don't think he's like a solo carry.
Yeah,
you will have to have a couple other people on this list that we're mentioning to plug in other
against Houston.
Listen, up until this point, I think his best game was 38 points. And it was against Houston, in Houston. That was his best game of the year. I think he can eclipse that.
You're lucky that we have playoff reseeding and you won't
so I don't have to
be
play
playing me in that week because that
would be terrifying. Completely agree.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the underdog in this playoffs. And my matchups are so good that I really think that I could knock.
You feel good.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited this week and hopefully next week as well. Hopefully I'll still be excited.
I'm excited for you. You've had a good run in our league, so I wouldn't be like too upset to see you go. Like, okay, finally somebody else can win. But at the same time, you're my boy. I gotta root for you until you go against me. I want to play
a matchup against you. I want to knock.
I'll root for you until it's against me.
Brother out, and then I want to play you in the finals. And I don't care what happens.
And then we won't talk the whole week.
and then we'll both score like 100 points, and it'll be a terrible.
Oh, that would be so funny. And then the people in the third place matchup both get like over 200 and would have crushed us, but they didn't make it there.
Exactly.
That would be so funny.
That would be really funny.
I hope that happens. Let's go.
I'd be down for that.
100%.
Awesome. Well, I guess you can take us into the wide receivers then. Go 3 picks in a row because we did say we were going to flip-flop.
Okay. I'm not picking this player. I want to preface this. I just want to start. I want to start by casually.
13th pick. Okay.
I want to casually just have a quick discussion about a potential honorable mention because he literally has the hardest fantasy schedule of any player. They're all in the red. We're talking about Justin Jefferson.
Dude.
All right. So I want to ask you.
Because
is he on your list?
No, but I would say I think there might be one. No, okay, never mind. It's not.
He's playing. Yeah. He's playing against wide receiver specifically. He's playing. All 3 teams are in the top 10 against wide receivers. Now that being said, it is Justin Jefferson. So I just wanted to casually say that even though he has hard matchups and you might be afraid, obviously you're not benching him, and he's still going for the record. Right now he has 1,500 yards. He is within reach of getting that receiving yards record. So I just want to say I don't think it's plausible. It's not realistic, but it's possible.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to put up crazy numbers. He is proven to struggle in certain matchups. I just wanted to talk about it because you're still playing him, but I don't think he's going to be the reason you win anything.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I wanted to go the other way with it.
I think he's not a fantasy MVP.
Correct.
But he is going to be if you have other fantasy MVPs in your lineup, he'll hopefully help you secure it. Like if you have that Derrick Henry and Justin Jefferson somehow, I don't know how you'd even get that, but if you have those two players,
right.
If you had those 2 players in your 6-person league,
Exactly. That's the only way you'd be able to get both. Completely agree.
Yeah, but anyway, I guess what is your first real pick?
My first real pick. Give me Christian Watson.
Yes, no way you have this pick too. That is awesome. Dude.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, this is my second pick, but I had him as well.
All right.
But yeah,
the dude has been the guy has been on absolute fire. Literally, get the fire extinguisher out. He's put up over 20 points 4 weeks in a row. We talked about him like a month ago that this was unsustainable, like his touchdowns and everything. He couldn't possibly keep it up. And here we are a month later still talking about how the man's putting up numbers. I think he's proven us wrong. They're coming off a bye and they're facing back bottom 10 teams against wide receivers. They're at home for week 15 and for week 17 championship week versus Minnesota, which is arguably, it says they're the second worst team against the wide receivers, but arguably they're the worst. I love this pick. He's proven to be the guy. Green Bay could still scratch and claw for not really, but there is a slight argument for playoff potential, I believe. Mm-hmm. I don't think you're in love with the idea, but it's still possible. I think he's going to come out and put up 3 ridiculous weeks, and he could be the guy if you have him on your team, where he could put up like a 30 burger, and put you over the hump. He's been playing out of his mind, and I don't think he's stopping anytime soon.
I 100,000,000,000% agree with this. His last 4 games, he's had 35 points, 21 points, 24 points, 24 points, and now he has 3 green matchups in the playoffs, and
it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Like, he is okay. The one thing I am worried about this week is Jalen Ramsey. That's the one thing I'm worried about.
Do you think he'll follow him? That's his MO, right?
Yeah, but
I think
Christian
he likes
Watson
to blanket people.
He's incredibly fast.
He's so fast.
He is so fast. Like, he could burn him. So I think it is. I don't know if they'll put him on Watson, like Ramsey on Watson, because he might be too fast. It might be one of those things. So
Ramsey's getting a little older, right?
So that's what I'm thinking. But I love this pick. I mean, he's still emerging. He's still getting like better. He'll probably get more targets. Like, this is like, again, I had him in best ball in the league that I lost, and
he almost could have been the reason that you were in the argument at all.
Exactly.
I guess without him, it might not have been 16 points. You'd have lost by 100 and right. Oh shoot! Yeah,
last week,
if he had a bye earlier in the season and actually played last week, that could have been the difference maker.
When he was injured or something. I'm still mad. No, but great pick.
But he's still he's absolutely gonna win you games over this next 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. You're gonna look at your lineup and be like, you know what? He put up 35 points. That's the reason I won, because I only won by 7. So, he did it for me.
Exactly. And I will say I almost picked Rodgers over Watson for my third QB as well.
Ooh, so that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I think that's also a possible play. I don't know. I don't have as much faith in Rodgers, but Watson is getting like the TDs right now. So totally agree. I guess... So we don't have you pick 4 players in a row, because
just go.
I'll just go. I'll start with who I think will be the top fantasy receiver, and this was hard.
Keenan Allen.
Exactly. Every elite receiver had like terrible matchups at least a couple weeks.
Correct.
So I had to go to someone who doesn't have great matchups, but I think is matchup proof based on their skill level. And that is Jamar Chase.
Good pick.
Because there are questionable players in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm talking about Higgins and Boyd, who have not...
Correct. They've been a little hurt. Healthy. They haven't been showing up as much lately. Correct.
Exactly. So I think he's going to get hyper-targeted. Burrow already loves him. And Burrow's also heating up. getting into playoff form. And this is what happened last year. Near the end, when it got to the fantasy playoffs, Burrow and Chase won every one championships. And
100%.
And I think this is going to happen again. That's my prediction. I was looking. I almost picked. Was it Adams? No, it was. I almost picked
Stephon Diggs.
But I'm worried about this week. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. I feel like Chase. I'm less worried about him having a dud game, and I'm worried about everyone else having a bad game. At least one of those weeks.
I don't think Jamar Chase and Burrow are capable of dud weeks. This time of the year is when they got ice in their veins, man.
Literally.
I do think with those two players and their chemistry and their history going all the way back to college, I don't think you give a crap about the matchups.
Yeah.
You absolutely trust those two players. If you have them both, good for you. You're so happy. If you got both of those guys, you were going into these playoffs knowing that Cincinnati is still fighting for that number one spot in the AFC North.
Yeah.
They're gonna those are the two guys that you put the ball in their hands to get where you need to be. And that's not going to change over these next 3 weeks. Even though they're playing Tampa Bay, New England, which we're terrified of New England's defense right now.
And
Buffalo, they're going into Buffalo championship week, which could decide if they make the playoffs or not at all. Yeah. You trust these guys. 100% agree. It's a great pick. It's a great pick.
And I was talking about this earlier with Josh Allen, that I feel like he also has ice in his veins too. And that's why I think that championship game between the Bills and the Bengals is going to be almost 100 points. Probably not 100, but 80 points.
Depending on the seeding, that's like a potential week 17 could be a glimpse forward to the AFC Championship game.
Yep, exactly. And we talked about earlier, the Bengals need to win. So
they absolutely have to win these next 3 games. I think we're going to see the best version of these two players that we've seen all year.
Yeah.
I love the pick. I didn't have them on my list, but I love, because I'm a Baltimore fan, so I couldn't keep picking players on Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and such. But I love that pick. I'm going to be. I don't have anything to say about that.
For QBs, I obviously went with Josh Allen, but for the elite QBs, it was between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow for me, just because of him heating up. But I had to stick with Josh Allen because of the rushing, So that's kind of what I thought.
He does bring that. He brings that second layer.
Yeah,
if you will.
Awesome. Well, What is your second pick? Maybe on my list. Who knows?
I gave away my second pick because I guessed that he was going to be your pick. Give me Keenan Allen is my pick. I'll let the cat out of the bag. But you could also, I guess, you could just as easily slide in Mike Williams, depending on if someone gets hurt. So you can just sort of interchange these two players. They're playing Tennessee week 15. Since Allen's been healthy, he's putting up over 20 points. The first couple weeks he was coming back, the matchups were a little tougher. He wasn't fully back into the offense yet, but over the past couple weeks, he's put up over 20 twice. And versus Tennessee, at least this week in particular, I don't think that's going to change. Week 16, they play Indianapolis, so obviously he's capable of dropping a goose egg. But then championship week, man, you got that LA versus LA violence. And LA sucks right now. Let's be frank.
Yeah, me too.
The Rams are absolutely horrible right now. How do you win the Super Bowl and then come back and look the way that you do? So I think Keenan Allen, 2 out of 3 games, is putting up. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it sounds a little ridiculous to say that he might put up 25 plus points in both games. That sounds a little far-fetched. But based on the matchups and based on how he's finally back healthy, I do think it's possible.
I 100% agree.
Ooh,
because
shocking.
Obviously I have Allen on my team, so I will agree with that. But I was considering at one point putting him as my first pick, like instead of Jamar Chase or Diggs, but I wanted to have like one of those elite players, and then I couldn't put him over Watson just because I thought Watson was such a good pick. But I really like Allen, and the reason I actually agree with you of going Allen over Williams is because of the Indianapolis matchup, because they are 32nd, but usually I think Allen does better in those types of games because I personally I think the slot like that kind of opens up more in those tough matchups, and I don't think he'll have a great game, but I think the other two games are going to be amazing, like you said. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay. I like that. We haven't been disagreeing too heavily. Maybe one or two.
No, but I will tell you, my next pick we're definitely not disagreeing on.
We're not disagreeing.
Yeah, you might even have him on your list. Do you think I can predict your next pick?
You know what? I would bet you like literal cash money, and I wouldn't even you wouldn't even have to risk it. I'll just offer you $5 if you pick who's next on my list, because there's no way.
Okay, well, it's Chris Moore. Is Chris Moore your next?
It's not. I'm not that transparent.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
you are gonna disagree with me, even though you like this player, because he has no actual NFL playoff implications. They have no reason to play out of their mind, except for the fact that he wants to showcase that he wants to be a centerpiece on the team going forward.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about George Pickens.
Oh, okay.
The injuries to the quarterbacks in Pittsburgh puts a little bit of a shadow on this pick, a little bit of doubt. But the matchups are unbelievable, and
look.
I want to change my mind. When I was picking it, I was convinced. Now the same thing as when I was talking about.
Do you want me to do my pick so you can repick?
You know what?
You can repick your pick of pick ends.
No, you know what? I'm gonna go with it.
All right.
I'm going to stick with it simply for the fact that Pittsburgh plays Baltimore in Week 17, and they're going to want to play spoiler. And the matchup is really good for wide receivers. I think these next 3 weeks could be his best 3 weeks of the year, and Najee Harris is sort of falling off a little bit. Like he fell off that he was going to be good, then he's sort of trending downwards a little bit again. I'll stick with my guns. I'm gonna be wrong. I can be wrong. We don't have to be perfect. It's a bad pick. Right. We don't have to be perfect.
I hope you're right, because I'm playing him this week because I have to.
I'll just take an L on that one. Who's your last pick?
Look, I just want to say the only reason I don't like this week is because Kenny Pickett is out, and he has been much better with Kenny Pickett in than when he's out. There's been like a couple games where I think there was one game where Kenny Pickett got hurt, and then he didn't get like a target without Kenny Pickett. And then the next game, he didn't do good without Kenny Pickett. So that's why I'm worried. But I do agree, when Kenny Pickett comes back, he could do really well. And he's very underrated right now.
When I started giving my reasons about Pickens, and I mentioned that the quarterback situation sheds doubt, I didn't remember that earlier when I was making the pick.
Got you. Okay.
As I was going through it in my head, kind of improvising what I was saying about why I picked him, I remembered the quarterback situation, and I was like, "Oh shit,
he's only doubtful. He could play. He's just doubtful.
it's just doubtful. Just a little doubt. Nothing wrong with a little bit of positive energy can clear that doubt right up." All right.
Awesome. Well,
I'll take an L on that one. Go ahead.
I already mentioned my pick. So, and that is Chris
You're
Moore.
going with Moore.
I'm going with Moore, who you ironically picked up this week as your pick of the week,
and immediately said I would never play him, and then I'm playing him.
And now you're playing him. He has been emerging as a tight end, or sorry, as a wide receiver, not as a tight end. But he's been doing really good. We talked about this in the matchups, how Houston had a great wide receiver matchups. And I talked about Brandon Cooks. I am completely off the Brandon Cooks hype train because I'm going with Chris Moore.
I was never on it. He's on my team. He's on my bench.
But now you have Chris Moore, and I like this a lot. We see they're doing a weird thing at QB, but it doesn't matter. Last week they did a really weird thing with the QBs, and he still got 11 targets, 10 receptions for 124 yards in PPR. That's
out of
amazing.
Nowhere. That was a wild week.
I mean, the thing is, too, he has been doing all right. I mean, since the bye, he hasn't been doing bad. He's been getting a little more work here and there. And I think...
Correct.
I think he's really going to break out because he is a rookie, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure, actually. I didn't look into that.
Actually, he might not be. Am I...
It says he had fantasy points last year.
Okay, well then he's not a rookie. Anyway.
Yeah, he second year. Close enough.
Second year, maybe third year, maybe fourth year, maybe fifth year. Maybe
who cares?
Who cares? He is doing really good. They are completely out of playoffs, so I don't think they're going to rush Brandon Cooks back. Damian Pierce is out now, so I think this is a great play. Like it was a good pickup by you. I didn't need a wide receiver this week, but he would have been who I would have picked up because I think he's going to go off in this playoff stretch, and I really like it. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Let's do it. I also considered the fact that now that Brandon Cooks might play, you sort of feel like, I don't know how valid this argument is, but Brandon Cooks demands attention.
Yeah.
We just said that we're not on his hype train, but defenses will still Brandon Cooks. He's still capable of putting some stuff together. So I always feel like that opens up things more for the other guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaged 1,000 yards like every year of his career, I think. So definitely, I definitely agree with you.
All right. Okay. I'm with you.
Sweet. Well,
I think you go ahead.
I guess we can move on to tight ends then. And I think we could probably fly through these pretty quick because I'll be honest.
We probably agree on all three.
Maybe not. I think I have one very, very spicy one. So I'm not putting Kelsey on my list. You can put Kelsey on your list if you want, but I feel like for me, he's the obvious tight end one. So I'm not putting him on the list. But correct. I'm putting my players are more the rest of the blob of tight ends who you should try to play. And my first one is the only Jet I kept, and that is Tyler Conklin.
Okay. That's one of my picks down.
It is. Okay. Well, he has a great matchup. Three matchups. Yeah. And
all three, exactly.
All three. And week 17, Seattle is an amazing matchup. It's the two great tight end matchups are Seattle and Arizona. And, I mean, you saw that this week with Kittle. Kittle completely went off. I've been saying it for a while. Seattle, Arizona. That's who you want to play against. So...
Exactly.
I mean, that's why I'm starting him. Great matchups. The obvious issue is no Mike White this week. That was why I was a little worried. But he should be back next week, hopefully, unless... The one thing I am worried about is if Zach Wilson gets just put back as starter for no reason other than, I don't know, him being Zach Wilson and a high draft pick. That's the only thing I'm worried about. But what do you think overall? Do you like... I mean, you obviously have my guess on your top three, Tyler Conklin. So
correct.
What do you think?
Can I make an argument for why Mike White going down actually elevates Conklin?
Yes.
Okay. You may or may not agree, but this is something we've talked about in the past, that when you have... He's not a new quarterback, but he's shaky at best.
Yeah.
He's going to need a centerpiece somebody he's confident in, somebody he can trust. Sort of get the ball to him early, get the rhythm going, get the confidence going. I think Conklin is that guy right now in New York. I think early and often at the beginning of the game, they're going to have a lot of plays designed for him to get those two players cohesive and kind of gelling, if you will. So I think early and often Conklin is going to get rolling right from kickoff, man.
Awesome.
I think Conklin is going to be that guy for Zach Wilson. And then once Mike White gets back, they already have good chemistry, so that continues.
I love it. Great.
Let's go, Conklin. All right, now you get to make 2 picks in a row.
Well,
what were you going to say?
I'm worried that we might have one of the same picks. So, do you want to say next pick? Because I know one I don't have.
Want to say it at the same time?
Okay. 3,
all right.
2,
3,
1.
2, 1.
Chigozie Okonkwo.
Okay. Who the is that guy? No, I know who he is. I'm kidding. But his name is hilarious. I love it every time.
You picked
his
Kittle.
Name is awesome.
Well, I guess Kittle is a fair pick because I picked McCaffrey. So go ahead. I mean, you kind of already won this week with Kittle. So
I mean, yeah, and he plays Vegas in championship week. And that's another one of those like really good tight end matchups. So I think if you don't have like a Kelsey or an Andrews, and you have a Kittle, it's not a leap to say because you're probably just starting him every week anyway. But his fantasy matchups, besides Washington in Week 16,
yeah,
he's a guy he's in your lineup. How am I saying this? He's in your lineup every week anyway. But you have an elevated level of confidence knowing that he's facing some of the worst matchups that are out there.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you say that guy's name? Chigazian and
Chigozium Okonkwo. Or Okonkwo. I could be mispronouncing it, but I'm just going phonetically. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like, I mean, obviously Kittle. I think Washington's a scary matchup, and that's why I don't have him on my list, just because I think some of these other players will have more consistency, which is probably something you're looking at. In smaller leagues, I think that's more important. In a bigger league like ours, where you have so many roster spots, you are looking for those like high upside plays. So, but I do agree, Kittle, I mean, week 15 and 17, he's going to go off. So I love it. Nice pick. Cool. I guess I can go to who I mentioned, which is Chigozium Okonkwo, who is, I mean, I don't know if you have seen some of the catches and the touchdowns he's had. They are like stunning. Like, like he is incredibly athletic, and he's, I really think he's an emerging star. Like, not just for like this year where they don't have Treylon Burks, but I think going forward, he could be like the next big tight end in the league because he looks incredibly athletic.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And the matchups are not good. They're mediocre. They're not bad. They're literally all 3 matchups are mediocre. So,
but you think you can trust them? Yeah,
that's what I'm taking the gamble on. Essentially, just him being good and that elite.
A freak athlete.
Yeah, because they don't have Treylon Burks also. And I actually was wrong. I forgot they play Dallas in week 17. And hopefully by then, it doesn't matter. Because the goal, obviously, we've talked about this, is to get to the playoffs. But that said, if he's already emerging, I mean, I think he's like a stud. So I don't know if the matchup matters. Like, if Kelsey plays, I mean, Kelsey's a big comparison, but I don't know.
Kelsey's matchups in the playoffs are...
I like it.
Kelsey's matchups in the playoffs are rough. Like, he's playing teams that he already did poorly against previously. So I'm actually nervous that I have Kelsey. I'm actually wishing that I had one of these other guys that we're talking about, which is crazy enough. Yeah, but he's still Kelsey, but we don't have to go. He's not on either of our lists, so we don't have to talk about him.
Okay. Well, I guess we can move on to your last tight end then. Because I have a really spicy one, which I guarantee you do not have. So you can go first.
I mean, if you're calling it spicy, then it's not the same as mine. Because I went more comfortable. I went with Dalton Schultz.
Okay.
And you already have Dak Prescott in your quarterback, so you agree that he has a decent fantasy playoff schedule.
Yeah.
But as far as wide receivers go, their matchups are not great. The teams that Dallas are going against aren't particularly easy for. They're sort of like middle of the road for receivers, but
besides Tennessee.
Correct. But for tight ends, 2 out of 3 are bottom 10 defenses against the tight end that I was looking at. Dalton Schultz, he doesn't ever put up like super flashy numbers. What is he averaging? Looks like maybe like 15, 16 points a game. But coming down the stretch when they're playing for seeding, still potentially winning the division, as far-fetched as that might be.
Yeah.
I've liked him all year. He's not like super flashy, but he's efficient.
Yeah.
And I think he could be a rock going forward these 3 weeks as a centerpiece, because I haven't been too impressed with CeeDee Lamb and Gallup the past couple weeks. So I was looking for someone who might be able to step up in their place because they haven't looked too good. So Dalton Schultz is where I landed.
I don't mind it at all. I think one thing I noticed is all these tight ends, like there are so many tight ends, and I could not find a tight end I liked that had a good matchup in week 16. So
I completely agree. I don't think any of them do. How come nobody who plays Tennessee in week 16?
I do have a spicy one though. Who does? And I like your pick. Don't get me wrong. I think week 15, 17 is good. But this player has a consistent floor and has huge upside. And you
Dulcich.
Probably, I wouldn't say you definitely know who this is, but you would never consider this person in a million years.
Ooh,
because
Bellinger.
We talked about earlier about the craziness that's happening in Houston and how they're playing 2 quarterbacks, like 50% snaps.
I don't even know who Houston's tight end is.
One of those quarterbacks is Jeff Driscoll, who, if you remember, at the beginning of the year, Houston swapped him to tight end in the preseason, and he is tight end eligible. And he had 50% of the snaps last week against Dallas and got 10 points. And
he did.
And now they play Kansas City, Tennessee, and then Jacksonville, who are great matchups for quarterbacks. And he is tight end eligible on Yahoo.
Wait, I am so confused.
So Jeff Driscoll is a startable tight end on Houston.
He had 7 rushes last week.
Exactly. Because I think
he didn't have any catches.
Well, no, he's a quarterback. He's not a tight end. But you can start him at tight end, even though he doesn't play tight end. He is like Taysom Hill.
You're a cheater. That's cheating, bro. I mean, good for you for going off the wall. If you have to play somebody like that to have a chance, that's exactly the sort of player you're looking for. You gotta take a risk. Like you said, if you're an underdog looking to take a risk. Dang, he had a touchdown pass last week. What was that? Some sort of like gadget play?
I don't even know. It was because I didn't even realize they were starting 2 QBs. I wasn't paying attention to the game. Like I saw the touchdowns, but I wasn't looking at who threw them because I didn't realize they were splitting snaps, and I didn't realize he was tight end eligible until this week, and that's why I'm.
That's so funny.
Depending on how he does this week, I am considering picking him up to start next week because I was gonna do it this week. I was gonna actually pick him up, but Greg Dulcich just has too good of a matchup this week against Arizona. Like I'm playing Greg Dulcich no matter what, and I couldn't live with myself if Greg Dulcich has a great game against it, because everyone does against Arizona. Like I couldn't live with myself if he has a great game and I benched him for Driscoll. So I want one more week. I want one more week of Driscoll to see if he actually is legit. Because, I mean, against Dallas, that thing worked. Whatever they were doing worked. I mean, they were ahead until the end of the game. So,
fair point.
I know it's cheese, but if the system allows it,
it's a little bit of cheese, but we like cheese around here.
I will say he's not eligible as a tight end in every league. So if you don't have that option, my other tight end would probably be either Hunter Henry or Jeff Driscoll. But I don't know. Those are like incredibly like risky plays. So that's kind of it, I guess. We actually made it. Wow. I'm surprised we made it all the way through the players. It took a little longer than I expected, but
no, because we have to list all the players, 3 each, go into a little bit of detail as to why. We each had 12 picks. That's 24 players. So what is that? Like 2.5 minutes per player. That's
not that bad actually.
I don't think that's. Yeah, I'm proud of that.
I didn't do the math, but yeah. Well,
I didn't do the math either. I just made up a number.
Before you take your bathroom break, I guess we should go to Ask Anissa, where I ask my wife Anissa
let's do it.
a fantasy football question, and she knows nothing about football. So, Anissa, which bench player are you starting in the playoffs? J.K. Dobbins, Chris Moore, or Chigozium Okonkwo?
You already know who I'm about to go with.
Tell me.
Can I see the name? Chigozium Okonkwo. You know who I'm talking about. Obviously
Okonkwo. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Now let's play What's Your Prop? Where we pick 3 prop bets for each other. And I messed it up again. Damn, I do this every time. We pick 3 prop bets for the other person who will pick a side. We will keep track of our records and then be publicly punished on the show at the end of the year. I butchered it.
I was going to ask, do you have it written down just to make sure you get it the same every week, or do you just try to remember? And now I know that you just try to remember.
No, I have it written down, and I just read it wrong. So
it is written down.
It is written down. It's more embarrassing.
Brutal.
So my embarrassing story is that I write down our "What's your prop?" and every week I still get it wrong. But anyway, last week,
all right,
you went 3-0, and I went 2-1. So Sclotty is back.
Have I gone 3-0?
He's Sclotty. Sclotty is 17-10. You are 7 over-unders up, and I am 11-16. I am 5 over-unders down. So, yeah, we can wrap it up.
Good season.
Good season.
No, I mean I could go 0-3 4 weeks in a row and still win.
And I will go 0-3 those weeks as well. Then
it doesn't matter how I can go 1-2 and somehow still win the week. I don't.
Yeah, I did look it up. The first week we did it, I beat you. That was the only week I beat you.
That was the only one, huh?
Because after that, you beat me. I beat you. I think I was 2-1 and you were 1-2, and that was it.
That was very convincing.
Yep. And then the next week you tied it up, and then you pulled ahead and never looked back. So that is the story of this year. But I guess we can get right into it. Do you have any spicy ones? Because I don't have any spicy ones. But do you want to go first?
I have a super convoluted one.
Okay.
That you're gonna actually have to think about.
Okay.
The other two are basically freebies because I just want you to go at least 2-1.
All right.
All right. My first one, very simple, especially for you because he's a player very near and dear to your heart.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
Derrick Henry.
Yep.
I know you love Derrick Henry. Very good matchup this week, but over the past month and a half, he has not been able to score touchdowns multiple weeks in a row.
Okay.
Regardless of the matchups, he just can't seem to get it 2 weeks in a row. And he scored last weekend.
Okay.
So I will ask you, does Derrick Henry score a touchdown this week versus the Chargers?
Well, I guess it's going to have to be 3 weeks in a row because I am saying he does score a touchdown this week, and obviously he scores one next week. So, yeah, I'm saying yes.
All right. You sound awfully confident about that.
I do. I'm very confident. And that's why I'm giving you one that is a little more tricky because this player has been amazing,
Thanks.
but has a very tough matchup. And that is Trevor
Okay.
Lawrence, 239.5 passing yards.
239
and a half.
and a half.
Don't forget the half.
Can't forget the half. I don't want to push. Jacksonville's playing Dallas, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
200. Give me the over. I'm not confident about it, but I don't trust ETN to be able to manage the game, so they're gonna have to rely on Lawrence. Okay, I don't like it, but I don't. But
you're clearly very good at
50-50,
these,
so
so
screw it.
I think you might be onto something. What is your second pick?
I'm giving you another freebie.
All right.
Starting off the week 2-0. I'm just giving it away. We talked about Christian Watson. We both absolutely love what he's got going on, especially this week versus the Rams, the shiitake mushroom, terrible Rams. Over or under 77.7 yards.
Oh, okay. Well, we talked about this earlier. He's fast, very fast. And even when he gets a couple catches, he gets a ton of yards. And I think he's going to break
77 in one catch.
Yeah. And I think he'll get over 77. I think he will. So, yeah, I'm taking the over.
I thought you might. Fell right for my trap.
Yeah, fell into your trap. All right, good to know. So.
Why is my marker not working?
Well, while Scalati's marker isn't working, I have to throw him off his scent. I have to throw him off his game. So I'm going to quickly go to Jerry Jeudy. Does Jerry Jeudy get 4.5 receptions?
Under.
Under. He went under.
No. My marker's not working.
It's okay. I will keep track if you want, but it's up to you.
I'll try to fix it. I'll perform surgery. Give me the under.
So you're taking under on Jerry Jeudy, taking the over on Trevor Lawrence. What is your third pick, Scotty, for me?
All right, this is the one where I really thought outside of the box to come up with this one. All right.
Okay.
We are coming down the stretch for who will finish the league with the most receiving yards.
Okay.
So I obviously can't ask you a question that takes a month to settle. So I had to think of a way that it will settle this week. All right. Tyreek Hill has 1,460 receiving yards.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson currently sits at 1,500. Tyreek is going against Buffalo. Jefferson is going against Indianapolis. Both tough matchups. Both teams still fighting for playoff seeding.
Okay.
Who finishes the week with more total on the season receiving yards? Tyreek Hill is currently behind by 40. Can he make up those 40 yards against Justin Jefferson in a tough matchup?
My
Who will
answer
finish the week with more total yards?
will have to be no, because I think Justin Jefferson will have more receiving yards by the end of the week. That's my thought process.
He has more yards now, and you think he'll stay that way?
And I don't even know if he'll have to do that much because I think Tyreek Hill, maybe he gets another fumble recovery for a touchdown. Maybe he rushes some plays.
That highlight is hilarious, by the way.
And I will say, it was really funny that he had a great game, but still didn't hit the over for our bet or our prop bet last week because they weren't throwing because he ran in a touchdown from a fumble recovery. So
he only had like 4 catches or something, some crazy. It was really out of character for him, which is why I thought of this pick. I was trying to think of. I just broke my finger.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wait, are you serious? You need to
Yeah.
go?
I was reaching under my bed to grab something, and I caught it in between. Okay. All right. You think Justin? All right.
You need to end
I think Tyreek Hill has a.
You want to?
I think Tyreek Hill has a bounce back game. All right.
Okay, Mr.
We're
Broken
good.
Finger.
We're good.
I'm really throwing you off your game now because my next pick.
I think it's.
Are you ready to go to the next pick, or do you need a break?
I'm good. Okay. What was your question about Jerry Jeudy again? Over under how many receptions?
4.5.
And I said under.
Yeah.
All right. I got a new marker. That's why I broke my finger, to get a new marker. Okay, we're good. Ask me my third question. I survived. Ouch.
Third question is Baker Mayfield over under.
Oh God.
199.5 yards passing
versus the freaking Packers
on Monday night.
Monday Night Football. 199. You know what? I'm gonna write it before I tell you my answer.
Okay. Can you write it with your broken finger?
I think I'm just really cold, so it felt like it was worse than it actually is. It's freezing.
Okay.
199.9.
Yep. 199.5. But yeah, we'll do 0.9. Might as well.
I am very confidently saying, give me the under.
Ooh, okay. Spicy.
Everyone is overlooking the fact that, yes, Baker Mayfield led a 98-yard drive. But no, he didn't. 30 of those yards were penalties. Screw that. They had 2 15-yard penalties on that drive to save the day. He led a 68-yard drive. Give me the under. Baker sucks.
I will say that I didn't want to have to play him, but I do have to play him this week in our league.
I understand.
So
I'm very sorry for you.
I'm just hoping for maybe he'll at this point.
Maybe he'll throw 4 touchdowns. Maybe he'll come under 199, but he'll throw 4 touchdowns.
There we go. I'm down for it.
Will you settle for that? We both win.
We both win. I mean,
okay.
I will settle for losing this for anything in something that I enjoy, because
in return
for anything
lost in return.
Yeah, this doesn't matter at all. I've already lost, so
I could go 0-3 and you can go 3-0, and then you're right back in it. What do you mean?
Yeah, fair. Well,
it's possible.
Yeah,
a 6 pick lead is nothing. I can go 0-3.
Okay, I mean,
I feel like I let you. I did let you go 3-0 this week. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
I definitely lobbed. I lobbed 3 of them over the plate for you. So we'll see.
I mean, next if this week, if I don't win this week, I'm gonna go full troll. I'm gonna start doing full troll mode, because I do have a strategy I haven't employed yet. So
every time you have a strategy, I go 3-0.
I know, exactly. I haven't done the strategy yet, but this exactly. It's gonna be fun.
All right.
So anyway,
all right.
I guess that's it.
What are we moving on to?
So we can do matchups real quick, so you can go tend to your finger.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's over. It feels better already.
Okay.
I think it was just exacerbated by the cold. I live in a basement. The heating doesn't get down here too often, so I'm like. Gotcha. I'm sitting in like 30-degree weather right now. Everything hurt. I know you don't understand what I'm talking about, Mr. California.
Okay, I lived in Colorado for 2 years. In Boulder.
For 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years.
You were in college. You were drunk the whole time. The alcohol heated up your internal body temperature. You were never cold.
Okay. All right. Well, we can move on to the first.
I just made that up.
I know you did, but
I don't know if you were an alcoholic in college.
I wasn't. Not in my first college. No, I'm kidding. But
all right.
The first.
What's your favorite matchup of the week?
Well, none of them, but there's a couple I did want to talk about, because I mean, none of these are good for fantasy, really, and I typically tend to do that for this podcast. I try to look for good fantasy matchups, and one possible fantasy matchup that could be good is Kansas City Houston. What do you think of this one? Do you think this could be high scoring for both sides, possibly?
I think that I wish Houston would forfeit the rest of their season so their record doesn't change, because they are currently 11-1, and that's just that's just really symmetrical, and I hope that doesn't change.
Yeah. Well, it has to.
I think it does have to, unfortunately. I believe that Kansas City obviously blows out Houston.
Yeah.
So I'm not, as far as like fantasy goes, I don't think I'm like super excited about this game.
I mean, Denver did really good against Kansas City last week.
They did, but Houston is not Denver.
And you don't believe in the Driscoll? The little Driscoll boy?
Davis Mills is not Russell Wilson. No,
but maybe Driscoll is. So is that
I don't know. You're not doing a fantastic job of convincing me. It just on paper it looks like KC just like immediately goes up like 17-0, and then
like Dallas, right?
You switch over to
Dallas
a different
last
game.
week, right?
Yeah, but Dallas is in Kansas City, man. Dallas is just riding some kind of like Dallas is just riding like a temporary cloud, whereas Kansas City has been good for years.
Yeah, and Kansas City is like their throwing game is like always good no matter what. Like Dallas, I think, has to be specific circumstances, like it has to be a good matchup or like a rivalry game. It seems like they always do well in rivals, but that's kind of actually the game I want to talk about next was Dallas-Jacksonville. Because I surprisingly think Jacksonville could score a lot.
Eagles fan. What?
Hey, Trevor Lawrence, you saw the stats about Trevor Lawrence.
He's on an uptick. He's on an uptick, and it's absolutely true. ETN is still somehow not hit peak form, so we're waiting for that.
I don't think he will.
That being said, what is Evan Ingram going to have another ridiculous game? Who's on Jacksonville's side of the ball? Let's assume that Lawrence puts up the numbers that we think he can.
I think you know who it is.
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, you are.
Christian Kirk?
Nope, you're gonna say Zay Jones. There it is. It's the Zay.
He drops too many passes, man. He drops like 3 or 4 balls a week, and I keep thinking I want to put him in my lineup, and then I watch him drop like 4 touchdown passes a week, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I don't play him.
Well, too bad you didn't play him last week, because I mean,
I know he has like 1 game per month where I'm like, yeah, I guess I could have had him in there.
I don't know. He had out of the last. I mean. To be fair, these last 4 games have been great matchups for wide receivers, but he's had 14 points, 30 points, and then the 3-point game, but then 21 points in the last 4 matchups.
I want to know how to look up passes dropped. Is that a thing?
I think it is, but I don't think on Yahoo it is. I have it on my other site, so I'll look that up. Do you have any matchups that you wanted to talk about?
Absolutely not.
Okay, well then I guess I can add my last matchup.
This week is very just much like last week. I guess I can talk about a matchup that I'm praying has a specific result, and that is that Indianapolis goes into Minnesota and wins a game. But that I don't. Jeff Sunday just. And actually, I think they play on Saturday this week, right?
No, do they?
No.
I don't know.
They do.
Yeah, they do because I have Paris Campbell. Yeah.
So it's too perfect. Everyone's been calling him Jeff Sunday and Jeff Monday. We finally get to call him
Saturday.
Jeff Saturday.
Oh my gosh, you're so right.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that. It's a lock.
The script is perfect.
I'm putting it down on the bus. You can't beat Jeff Saturday on a Saturday. It's impossible.
You can. It's impossible. That's so funny.
You would have been the best college coach ever. Oh man. Too bad you never had any experience at college or NFL level. Crazy. Anyway,
that's wild.
Anyway, the last game that I wanted to quickly bring up was Philadelphia-Chicago, because I think this could be a little back and forth because Justin Fields
healthy?
I mean, how healthy are you asking him to be?
Healthy enough to play in the game?
I think
he's going to play, right?
I think he's playing. That's
Justin Fields not listed on final injury report. So he's going to play.
So he's playing. I mean, he did have the bye last week, so it would have been surprising if he didn't play. But that's kind of what I'm thinking, because it could be back and forth, you know?
Let me ask you this. No Darnell Mooney, no Chase Claypool. Where does... You think he does it all with his legs? I mean, where does the production come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Be realistic here.
Dude, he's gotten like 100 yards rushing like twice. I don't think they're...
Maybe 3 times.
Maybe right? 3 times, yeah. I mean, I think that's where it comes from. And that's the... I think he's the only player that gets points, realistically. Cole Kmet, maybe.
Okay.
I don't have confidence in Cole Kmet, but...
We should replay the... vlog, I mean not the vlog, the podcast from the beginning of the year where we talked about Kmet like 3 weeks in a row because we were just waiting for him to do something.
Well, we're gonna talk. I think after the season ends, we should definitely review some of our, because I don't know if you listened to the episode where I did I did my breakout predictions. So I'm gonna bring those on and have you critique them with me, because some of them I already know some of them are really funny that I have on there. So
ooh, okay,
so it'll be
that could be fun. I like that idea. For sure. And
we'll see. I mean, I think it will be fun to review some stuff. Just like ask Anistos how they went. We were. That kind of stuff. But yeah, see
that's
how
hilarious. I like that idea. Well, I really like that idea.
I think it'll be fun. Just because, like, I feel like most podcasts don't do that type of stuff, where they'll like do predictions, but they won't actually tell you like how well their predictions went. You know, so
I always wonder that when I'm watching somebody's like predictions on how a game will go. I always wonder, like, oh, how did they do on their predictions yesterday? Like, should I trust this person, or like, are they ever right?
Exactly.
But there's nowhere to like. Besides going back and watching every podcast or every video, it's impossible to find that information. They don't track it, and they're not going to admit to it. If they went like 0-6 yesterday, they're not going to be like, "Hey, you should trust me. I went 0-6 yesterday."
Exactly.
That's a valid point. I really like that idea. I'm down for that 100%.
Sweet. I love it. Well, this has been the longest podcast episode we've ever recorded. So let's wrap it.
An hour and 40 minutes.
2 hours.
Oh, yours says 2 hours.
Yeah,
mine says an hour and 38 minutes. I think you disconnected
20 minutes in or something. So,
did I?
We will, I guess, move on to the end of the episode, right, Scotty?
Dang it!
I messed it up.
I thought you hesitated. I thought you were leading me into it.
I know. I messed you up.
No, I didn't do it. I didn't do it fast enough. All right, let's try again. Edit that out.
I guess we'll move into the end of the episode, right, Scotty?
Heck no! It is time for Rule or Drool, where I either completely make up a rule or I read to you a very obscure, unknown rule that actually exists in the NFL, and you have to decide, is it a rule or is it a drool? Are you ready?
I am ready, and that was your best and now like shouting yet, so I love it.
I moved the mic very far away.
I could tell because
so I didn't peek.
It was perfect. I love it.
All right, perfect. I can't wait to hear it. All right. This week's potential rule is in regards to player wardrobe. Have you ever noticed that when you watch college football, a lot of those players wear ankle socks, revealing their legs? And did you ever notice that in comparison, all NFL players wear knee-high socks? Did you know that it is an actual rule in the book that every single player to take the field must wear socks that completely cover their legs up to their knee? It is a finable offense to take the field with your legs showing in the NFL. Is that a rule or is that a drool?
Do the socks have to go above the kneecap or below the kneecap?
Ooh. Well, because their shorts cover the rest, right? So I think they sort of meet in the middle. I think the knee could be showing. Because even when you're running, that sort of motion just reveals your knee anyway, unless you taped it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say the knee can be showing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that. The rule's gonna say that.
Oh, okay. So now you're trying to play mind games with me.
No, I'm not. This one's easy. You got this one. This one's super easy.
You know what? I was thinking about saying that it was a rule because it sounds like a legit rule, but I think it would be funnier if this wasn't a rule. So I'm saying it's drool.
It's a real rule. I have yet to make up a rule.
I know. This is a fun game. You know, I kind of like it because I can keep guessing like the drool, and then you're just gonna keep telling me cool rules that I didn't know. So I kind of like it.
Even if you're wrong, you just get to learn something new every week.
Exactly. Kind of like it.
I have more on deck. I've made up like 5. I have like 4 or 5 more like actual real rules on deck, and I sort of just decide in the moment. I didn't.
I really wanted to go rule because I thought it was like. It sounded right, you know? Like, it just sounded like a rule. Like, everything made sense why it would be a rule, you know?
I thought your train of thought would have been, like, if I was going to make up a rule, it would have been something a lot cooler than wardrobe.
No, I just thought it would be funny because... Yeah.
No, that's a real rule. Somebody's, as it's written, it says... Whoever was the GM back then, the commissioner, just decided that on average, NFL players have really ugly legs. So he just made a rule that they have to be covered. Yeah, so.
That is so funny. All right, well,
that's actually how it's written.
That's a great rule. I appreciate it. But it is time for your strong opinion of the day. Are you ready, Scotty?
The Super Bowl winner should automatically make the playoffs the next year without having to play a single game.
Incorrect. I'm going to give you that sound this time because I think that all fantasy playoffs should have playoff reseeding after each round.